My name is Wendell Pierce. You first know me as an actor. I am also a producer. I'd like to direct, but I don't consider myself a director just yet. Um, at the same time, I am a citizen of New Orleans, and I point that out because New Orleans not only made me, but made me refocus my energy into community activism and advocacy 20 years ago when we were at the height of disaster. And so I am a community advocate and an actor and a producer.
You may know Wendell Pierce from some of our favorite shows. His presence and performance on any screen or stage signals this show will be excellent. Or as one of my best friends and one of his biggest fans would like to say, all of his programs are excellent. There's a gravitas and confidence that exudes from this actor. I would like to believe it's because he knows his origin story. I ask if his roots begin in New Orleans.
We go back several generations. I'm kind of doing a genealogy now. My mother was born and raised just outside of New Orleans, about 70 miles in Assumption Parish, Platenville, Louisiana. We call our counties parishes, as you know. So this country girl goes to Southern University in Baton Rouge, and she meets this city boy who literally had just come back from World War II, and they met on the yard.
Trained at Juilliard, Wendell has worked on Broadway, Death of a Salesman, The Boys of Winter. He also plays very compelling characters on television, Detective William Bunk on The Wire.
Someone saw me at a barbershop and said, "You know, Bunk is retiring. You better be there." I went, "Oh my goodness." So I'm terrified. I go and I see him across the room looking at me the same way. And so I walk there sheepishly, ready for my comeuppance. He looks at me and goes, "Hey, come here, you made me a star."
Oh, really?
He was like the prodigal son coming on.
Or you may remember him as Robert Zane in Suits. There's a long list of credits, but Wendell Pierce is so much more. But for this Renaissance man, he says it always begins with family.
Family is so important, and also it reminds me that is the affinity we have for place. Also, it's because of family. It's really interesting. I asked my brother, who I had three brothers. My oldest was Stacy Pierce, and my middle brother, Ron Pierce, went to West Point. And he was a military officer who had the codes. He was a he had a nuclear warhead.
Wow.
Persian 2 missile on a flatbed truck going through the Black Forest of Germany with the power of 10 Hiroshimas.
Wow.
And he was the first lieutenant. And I said, "Could you turn the key and push the button?" And he said, "Absolutely." And I said, "Why? You had no second thoughts?" He said, "No second thoughts." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I always knew someone had just attacked my family."
Oh, wow.
And that's why he had a real pushback on the war. And when the policy of U.S. policy changed and said, we're a first strike nation with Iraq. That my brother is so vehemently against that. He cannot tell you. He said that is the only thing that kept the officers in the nuclear weapons corps together.
Wow.
And he said after that choice, that started to have a mental impact on people. He's out of the military now. But I say that because it reminded me of how much family means to us. As a black man from the South, it goes even further. There's a story in my family. My great-grandfather, Ira Steele, was 14 at emancipation, and his mother would always say when he was enslaved, and they said their prayers at night. I'm sure the first one was, "I hope one day we free." He said that was the first. He said, "If you ever get free, you're not a Harris, you're a Christoph. Go back and find your father and your brothers and sisters. You have brothers and sisters and a father." He was sold with his mother as a nigger and a half. I like to use the word in that context so people know. and it was it's important because that story was actually in the piano lesson, the recent
Oh,
movie and
was it?
play,
Oh, wow.
Family's Play, how that was struggling to stay together. I gotta wonder if it lasted in the movie. I just realized that. I know it from the play.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I haven't
and
seen the movie yet, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm
and
glad.
so
Yeah,
I'm rambling on. I apologize,
that's
but
okay.
family is very important to us here. Very, very important to me, and it also defines place for me.
I want to focus on that word family in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the family you're born with, and then the friends who are your family. And right now, more than ever, I think that in our society, it is family. It's those connections that are needed more than ever. We need those connections because it's so easy to
Yes.
be a soldier on your own. And when I was in New Orleans, I found myself during Super Bowl weekend driving around, and of course it's obviously a different venue, a different vibe, but I could see myself living here. There was something very comforting, the way the people treat you like family, how kind they were from the moment you get off the plane. Obviously, again, it's a special situation,
Right.
but I'm really curious what you thought about last night's halftime performance. Uh, I
Oh,
I felt it felt like family. It felt like a family meeting. It felt like a message for family. It felt very powerful, disruptive, welcoming. All of the emotions that I had a bevy of emotions. And
right.
I
First,
and you tell me your thoughts.
first of all, I knew that would be the impact on you because you being from California.
Yes.
I know, but I mean that in the best way, meaning it was so uniquely. That's the one thing I know about Kendrick Lamar. I'm very bad with. I'm a big jazz head,
Okay.
right? So I'm real bad in the rap game and stuff. So I always have to be educated about it. Kendrick Lamar, man, is so connected to
Uh-huh.
California,
Uh-huh.
and Compton, and
Uh-huh.
UNC. Everything. I'm like, okay, yeah, and and raps will always have to be interpreted for me. Right? I'm like at that age, I guess.
All of us.
you know. And I'm like, I love that song. I know Crip Walk, and I know that, and they're not like us. Um, they're not like us, and it's like I have to. I was talking about that in the business meeting this morning. Like, what did that mean? And what did that mean? You know. Um, and so, what was great about it was I knew that he was sending messages out there, and this is where I feel as though the media drops the ball. Messages out there about um, the duality of
Mhm.
being
Mhm.
here in America,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Dan Orlovsky actually said on First Take, was that intentional that the red, white, and blue and it looked like the flag? I'm like, yeah, man,
Yes. Yes.
yes, the
Yes.
revolution will be
And it
televised.
was televised.
And the greatest moment for me was when Sam Jackson
Mhm.
says, this big black man said, I am Uncle Sam. And man, I was like, yeah, oh, this is where we going tonight. And you can tell people who don't know rap like me, uh, people who didn't know uh, Kendrick Lamar, right? Um, when they saw that,
Yeah.
they they knew something was up.
Yeah.
A big black man is Uncle Sam,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
I'm sure this morning, as we tape this, we have an American president saying that we're going to just go and take Gaza,
Mhm.
and all you Palestinians are not coming back.
Mhm.
So, that's what you were making. That's what you were saying when you were saying, I am
Yeah.
Uncle Sam,
Uh-huh.
because Uncle Sam made me this big black man
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
now in America and all. And there's others, so we'll spend the week trying to interpret it all. So I love that. The one disappointment that I had
Okay.
was me not knowing anything about rap, and I could care about the diss track going back and forth and Drake and all that stuff, right? And Serena used to date him, and she was dancing. I was like, okay.
You
And
are making me laugh.
so since right, so I'm not old unc. I'm old unc going, what? Oh, he used to that. Oh yeah, that boy up in Canada dated Serena. He was saying, oh, I see that. Now I understand. But I know one thing. I know a lot of white folks didn't like to see Uncle Sam being that big black buck, right? Right. So, and the revolution was televised.
It was televised. Right? It was televised
on the biggest stage in the world. Everybody saw that, right? So, the one disappointment was I know for a fact, don't know the words or nothing. I'm the worst, but I know we gonna be all right.
Oh yeah,
we gonna be all right. Became an anthem.
I know where you're going. Anthem I know where you're going.
For the Black Lives Matter movement, and I wanted that to be in there. I don't think it was. I didn't. It was.
It was not.
That's the only disappointment.
Yeah.
Because we need to hear that right now more than ever. So I loved it.
I think to your
I loved it for that reason.
But you had a question about the set list. And by the way, you're not the only one. This morning, the Monday morning quarterback is. I'm really curious about why he chose that set list. Why he opened with a new freestyle that most of us have never heard before. Why didn't he use some of his other songs? Because inside of the stadium, there was a disconnect because, to your point, some people aren't that familiar. He's not commercial. But that was the beauty in what the family meeting was. The family meeting wasn't for everybody. It was just for those who were supposed to know. So that's why I loved what he did. Okay, so case in point.
Yeah. Also,
go on.
Also, with that disconnection, it had a strange impact on me because I knew the people around me because I'm very much in a sponsored section.
Yeah. Same.
Right?
Same.
They got their tickets.
Same.
They got their tickets from the people that make the hats for all the NFL teams. I'm with this company. I'm with that company. How you doing, Mr. Pierce? Yes. And but I thought it became participatory for me. Because when We Gonna Be All Right came on, I, being very aware of my surroundings, said, I have to get up and try to crip walk.
No, out of my head, no.
Yes. And I got up and and everyone around me was like, what? What is he doing? Whatever. And I was praying. I said, this is the time I want to get some camera.
Okay. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes.
Understand what you were just saying. I, too, was sitting in a suite where everyone around me was like, well, what is this? And tell me more about who he is, and explaining what this was and why he was mad at Drake, or what the songs meant. And you could feel it, but I intentionally wanted to have that moment because I wanted to, I felt it. And then when Serena started crip walking, I lost my mind. It just took me back to obviously Wimbledon, and I just lost my mind. And I'm going to tell you, Serena, with her smart self, I was with her the night before at a dinner, and she kept it so low. It was such a secret. But I had interviewed her at Essence last year, and I asked her about the song because it's been the song, and I said, so how do we feel about the song, knowing all the storylines behind it? And she goes, it's my jam, it's my favorite song, I love it. She's like, it's the best song ever. And so I knew there were so many different meanings to that song for her as well, but which is obviously They Not Like Us. But I feel like yesterday Kendrick gave us a message. He gave us a really clear message, and we're going to unpack it for days and days and days. But it was, don't play it safe. Still be 10 toes down. Still be who you are. Still remember what the message is. Still remember the fight. We did not get here by pretending that everything is okay. Please continue on. And I felt like that was important, especially as we watch DEI under attack, other certain civil rights that are guaranteed under attack. And I don't even know when he wrote this.
Watching this plutocracy being created
Correct.
right before our very eyes.
Correct.
Of billionaires who are raiding the treasury of the government, cutting anything that will help the people, but that will give them the benefit. I mean, it's clear as day.
Yes.
And you are right about that. Kendrick's message, the fact that I was a little upset. I'll be honest. I'm sort of upset about the sort of poetry. I don't want the clandestine nature of the messaging. Right? Sometimes I used to be like, listen, if I have to ask someone to decode something for me so I can get there, so then I can see what the hidden message is, I don't want it to be that hidden, right? But then I said last night, it was interesting, and as I discuss it today, it's okay to be clandestine about it. Because those who understand and need to get there are the ones who need to be clandestine to get that message and have it hit you right in your heart. And what it was for me was the mantra that has been a part of this new year for me. Exercise our right of self-determination and practice radical self-care in the process. That is the key. Exercise your right and know that it's a time that you have to protect your own sanity, this anger, your mental and physical health, because it can have an impact on you in that way. What's happening now, a daily attack on who we are that will enrage you. But you have to get to a point that you don't let that rage destroy you. That rage should fuel you, and you should exercise your right of self-determination and practice radical self-care. Like you said, in the hippest way, 10 toes down. You know?
No, it's right. When I hear you say that, and I've heard others say that, David John sent a text out to maybe he even sent it to you, to different people, and he said, guard your joy, sibling. Guard your joy.
Right.
And I feel like more than ever, those who understand what that means. And there is a calling for the family to do exactly what you said. Stay determined, but also protect our joy.
And in doing that, he joins the ages.
That's right.
So that's my joy.
That's right. That's what Kendrick gave us yesterday. That's what you do. That's whatever we do, whatever this talent that we is, that should give us joy. I listened to you say that and how you talk about that interaction with that woman. And I hope whoever is listening to this podcast understands that that's how you guard your joy, that gift that you have, what you give the world. That's where you find your joy, because there's nothing better than giving and feeling your impact and seeing your impact and understanding why you have it. You mentioned...
And since this is a sports show, also, that's the thing I love about sports is because you have the ability to immediately impact your condition right now.
Yep.
Exercise your right of self-determination. You have
right
the
away
ability to impact right away.
Yep.
And there's going to be triumph, and there's going to be failure. There's going to be obstacles and challenges along the way, and you have to, adjust.
And figure it out. You got to make your adjustments. You got to call an audible. You got to go in the second half.
And if you don't,
and then you lose.
You are Patrick Mahomes this morning.
I was okay. You're listening.
You are Patrick Mahomes.
You wanted to see history. And here is my thought. You wanted to see, there were so many people. In fact, a lot of people that I was with yesterday wanted to see Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs go for history. They wanted to see a dynasty, Serena included. She said it. She goes, I want to see a dynasty. There's nothing wrong with a dynasty, but she's thinking about herself. I'm like, okay, wait, this is different. For me, though, what I love about sports was this exact story. And I don't know how much you know about Jalen Hurts and his college career, but that
Mm-hmm.
to me,
Got benched.
yeah, right. So that to me was what I was rooting for. I was rooting for the person who they thought couldn't do it. I was rooting for the person who wasn't even loved when he first got to the city of Philadelphia. I'm rooting for the guy who got all
Right.
the way to the Super Bowl and was injured and he couldn't pull it off and he was heartbroken. And
And more, I would say more people would vote rooting for Philadelphia
you
and
think
rooting
so?
for just that.
You think so? Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe not in the seats we were sitting in. You were in a suite. I wasn't even in a suite. In the suites, yeah. In the suites, yeah. And listen, man. Listen. That whole Midwestern value system and everything. We try to avoid the illusion of in Philadelphia.
Blue collar
Blue
city.
collar, urban, and we're the Midwest team. And the Midwest fans didn't know Kendrick Lamar.
It's just like
but the Philly fans.
Let me tell you something. When I saw that black quarterback kiss his black fiance, and I saw that, and I saw
Yes.
that beautiful performance straight from New Orleans. Everyone there was so amazing. Halftime performance amazing. I was like, I'll take this win today. I will take this win today. It was too many wins, right?
Yeah, it was Black excellence was on display.
Yes.
Black excellence was on display. Black love was on display. And Black intelligence was on display.
Mm-hmm. Everything
that has been attacked in the past year by this criminal enterprise that's happening. We cannot sit silent as we allow a message of hate and division to be normalized and criminality to be normalized. And Donald Trump is the easiest depiction of that. But I was more interested in the people that roared at the approval of seeing him there.
Give me the percentage for you when they showed him in his suite at the game. Tell me the 60-40 of people applauding and booing, 70-30. What in your mind, what was it? How'd you receive that?
It was interesting. I felt as though it was like 60 to 70% cheering. I felt it was about, and I would say, 39% sat there seething. 1% booed. That 39%. I would say I'm gonna go take it back. I would say it was about 55% people cheering, 44% of people seething, and 1% of boos, right? And because people wanted to see and enjoy a game that they had spent tens of thousands of dollars just to come to New Orleans to see and buy tickets and all of that, the average people there, not the sponsors groups, people like us who get benefit of tickets. They're like, man, if I get into this right now, I'm going to have to fight this dude next to me for 4 hours. And I would actually rather talk trash and talk shit to him about football than really about where we are in this country, because we might go to blows or something. That's how I felt, right? I felt like, let me just sit here quietly, and but I can't just let him go without a boo. Boo! And some people looked at me and everything. I was like, y'all know,
You know what it is. It's not a surprise. Yeah,
You know what
exactly.
time it is. So that's what the percentage was around me.
I
I'm sorry, Cari. I talk too much. I feel this obligation to fill the time on podcasts. I'd be like, oh shit, I have
no.
an hour. I have to get it out.
No, I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated how you were able to perceive it. One, because you are from New Orleans and you are a citizen, as you said, of New Orleans. I think that I can be jaded, and I cannot know, and I'm very curious about everything about you. This is why I do this, because it inspires me. It also inspires others, and it also gives us other points of views, and we need that so desperately.
And what was great about the moment? I was talking about that silence. That silence was really Miss Ann, who was working the bar, and Mr. Joe, who was, ushering from guest services. When they went and someone said, "Hey, you're the president's here, right?" And they just had to look at me and go, "Huh." There was a lot of that. That's what the silence was. Huh.
It's a conversation. It's an entire.
That was the deafening.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes.
Right. It was just like, huh. Right. And what's happening is, that kind of emboldened me, because it realized that people are not sitting back. Right. I thought, man, are we so depressed? We just lost an election. We didn't lose our principles. Right. But you said, I'm like, people are like, they're sitting back, and they're doing what Andy Reid did not do yesterday at halftime. Come up with a game plan for the second half.
He made zero adjustments.
Zero adjustments. I'm like, have you heard of Kareem Hunt? He's a running back on your team. Pacheco also. They're running backs. Have you heard of them? Have you heard of a running game?
I was so surprised, because they have been a third quarter team, a second half team. They haven't been, I get it. But I was really surprised. Andy surprised me. I thought he had it.
They got pressed. I mean,
they were dumb. They didn't even have. When I say the defense, when they were fly, eagle, fly, they were all over them. They could not do anything. I was. How many times did Mahomes get sacked? I was shocked at what I saw.
I was shocked. Oh boy, listen, man. I heard someone this morning talk about it. They should have given nothing to take away from Jalen Hurts.
Sure.
He's obviously the MVP of the game. But my God, that front four, they should have gotten. They should have made up an award. They should have made up an award.
You're onto something. I said the same thing. I was like, the defense deserves, the D-line deserves the entire MVP award. They really did well.
Going back and looking at the game, they literally did not blitz. I'm like, it's like, man, they did not have to blitz at all. And that's the thing that's where, Spagnuolo, what's his
their offensive coordinator?
Their defensive coordinator.
For
Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. That's what he did.
Who's been in all of.
He's been everywhere.
Spags. His nickname is Spags.
But he's been everywhere. Yeah, I know. I just Spagnuolo. You're right.
Spags has this wonderful career of going to all these Super Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs and winning, and with New York and winning with the Giants. But there was a time he came to New Orleans.
And did what?
And we were the worst defense in the history of the league. It felt like he was awful here. And he was awful here. He was awful. And then he went to Kansas City and blossomed. So, and I was just like, they don't talk about those years.
No, they don't. He's a genius.
They don't talk about those years.
He's a genius.
And that's what it was. It was like, he came back to New Orleans and he reverted back to
his old self.
Yes.
He didn't know what he was.
This was the wrong place for him to come and play a Super Bowl, because he obviously reverted back to the defensive coordinator we knew.
Well, I'll tell you, there were a lot of theories going around. They said it was Tom Brady's fault that because he was there, he's bad luck. They said he was the reason why the Eagles were able to win. So sorry. There were all these
Right.
different theories, but I'll tell you, at the end of the day, I don't believe that Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were to be denied. They just were not. And there's something to be said. That's why it's hard to have a dynasty and create a dynasty. What the Patriots were able to do is, this is why I always say Tom Brady is so, say what you want. Call him a cheater, say what you want. It's so hard to get there every year and then win, or every other year, every 2 years. It's hard to get there and win. And that's why
absolutely.
and win. Get there, fine.
And win.
That's why people, when we have this debate over Michael Jordan and LeBron, I get so irritated. I was like, get there and win? Get there and win. Because the job's not finished. May Kobe rest in peace. And so that is why I thought that was something that was just so powerful. I hate that you lost. Did you bet on the game?
I actually did bet on the game, but I betted on the game like a little old lady. No disparaging little old ladies, but I just do pools, right? I just do.
How much do we lose?
And I had 7-0. So I won the first half.
Okay. Good for you.
I won the first half.
And how much was that? How much was that? What is it? What, $20?
It wasn't that much. It wasn't a big pool.
Okay.
A couple of grand.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yes.
I'm gonna say
it paid for a couple of beers.
Okay, paid for a couple of beers. I bet not, and I didn't. But small bets, like within the people I was around. I am. Are the Saints your team?
I don't want to go down that sinkhole. I don't like betting.
No, I love to bet. I love to bet.
I love to bet too, but they were playing in the Caesars Superdome.
Okay.
That whole firewall that used to be there between the gambling world and the sports world, I appreciated that.
No longer exists.
It no longer exists, man, when you have commentators in the third quarter going, okay, the line now is. I'm like, and you see something happen and you're going,
I'm with it. I'm betting all the time.
I'm sitting there, so I'd like to, if I do bet, is usually just money line. All right.
Okay.
All the way.
All right. Easy.
Money line. I'm not doing spreads and stuff. This is like, I will really go down that path.
Yeah.
And I mean, even for teams, I appreciate it. I'm a who dat.
Oh, you are.
I will always root for New Orleans Saints. And that is it. Love it. That's it.
Best Saints player of all time.
I wanted to see the three-peat, so that's what
that's where you were.
So
I get it.
That's where I was, and I was with KC. But man, I was screaming at the television like everyone else, all the bettors in that divisional game. 14 seconds left. You beat the spread up by 11, and you run out the back of the end zone for 2 points,
sir,
and kill the spread.
Sir, are you not aware of what's going on?
I'm like, in Kansas City, which has the lore of
of all that stuff. Yeah.
Hey, the Kansas City guys said we want the meat here by Friday. There's a guy named Frankie.
Listen, I'm
out of it, man. When I saw that, I said,
"It's a wrap." You already knew. You already knew.
I was like, "Oh no, man! I'm only doing pools."
Okay, well, good for you.
Well, I bet on I love betting on the coin toss.
Okay, coin toss and prop bets are also my favorite. Prop bets. I had a over under whether or not Taylor and Donald Trump would run into each other, and if she'd stand on business, if she'd be like, here's my cat, me and my cat lady's friends are hanging out.
Right.
Like I wanted to, so those kind of funny bets. I didn't know she'd get booed though. I didn't bet on that. Like, there's money on that. There was a prop bet on whether or not she would get booed. There's always, or how many times the camera will show her.
Whether she get booed?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had known about that. I would have bet on that. I knew she was going to get booed.
Oh, I had no idea. Really?
Oh, absolutely. Cari, you didn't see those teenage girls in that going to
You're
the
right.
Super Bowl,
You're right about that. You're right.
right?
There was nothing but Eagles fans and
All these
grown men.
dudes from North Philly going to the game.
Although they have a
Boom.
crush on her. They all think she's attractive. So I was
Of course, Cari, as
surprised.
an attractive woman yourself, you know how guys hit on you in school.
Yeah, but you
Look, hey,
okay.
lanky, look at you.
Ugly.
Oh, hey, ugly with your long legs
You're not
and
attractive. Yeah,
your
okay.
big eyes, and, and you can athletic and all. And
That is so true. You're right. So
from day one, little boys
they've
were
never changed.
literally
Never
hitting
changed.
you on the playground,
And
Cari,
pulling my hair, calling me names. Now all of
calling your
them are
names.
wondering
Oh,
if they could date me.
and now
Too
we're
late.
like all grown ass men calling you names, pulling your hair. We the same dudes, same dudes. And then you leave the room, you're like, boy,
Oh, my stomach. Okay. So
and she gets on my nerves. What she know about sports? I know she played. What she play?
you sound like,
Yeah.
let me tell you who you sound like. I had to work with him for 3 years. This is my boy Stephen A. Be good, hazing me the entire time, loving me also the entire time.
Oh
He'll deny
yes.
it, but hazing me the
Oh,
entire
oh,
time,
I'm
loving me
sure.
the entire time.
Yeah. Oh my God. But you know,
Ask your
I mean,
question. I don't mind. I don't mind.
no, I'm not. I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not
Okay,
going.
we won't.
Not behind the scenes stuff or whatever like that. I do know in media, we both know that people take. They go. This is how I'm going to roll. This is the only way I'm going to get attention,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
And so there's some people where you just go, it's amazing. I'll give you. Well, he's gone, so I can tell this story.
Okay.
I played Clarence Thomas
Yes, you did.
against Kerry Washington playing Anita Hill.
Yep.
And Rush Limbaugh
Confirmation.
going off
Mm-hmm.
on, oh, these liberals are going to ruin this great judge and, just come out and say all this nasty and portray. But that actor, I really like that actor playing him. I liked him on The Wire. I really like him. But, it's going to be an awful movie. I heard that, so I reached out, you know. I reached out to him and I said, listen, I don't want to go on the show. I never got to talk to him. I said, I don't want to go on the show. I actually want to meet you because I'm always curious about people that I am, 180 the opposite, you know. I couldn't meet Trump though, not yet.
Mm-hmm.
But see, Stephen Miller, I would like to sit down with him.
Sure.
Right?
And they're probably all fans.
Right? And Rush Limbaugh responded back like, no, like I can't be seen with him. Right? Because it messes up my brand. Right?
Oh, wow.
If he, on a casual thing, like sitting and having lunch with me,
wow,
it messes up my brand. Now, the other flip side of it is there's, sometimes people want me to come and kind of soften the way people perceive them. I have a dear friend who's a big conservative writer, Ron Dreher, who did my book together with me, right? And Rod Dreher called me and he said, Wendell, Tucker Carlson is here. I was working in Budapest on Jack Ryan. Tucker Carlson is here. Would you like to have dinner with him? I was like, absolutely not. He goes, I said, Rod, absolutely not. I don't want to. That's not someone, and I know he only wants to have dinner with me because that would kind of give him some cachet. And I was like, no. He goes, no, Wendell, it's not like. I said, Rod, you and I are political opposites. I tell you when I hate what you say and what you write, but the reason we get along is because we found some commonality. We found our humanity. I came home after Katrina to help rebuild my community. You came home back to Louisiana when your sister was on her deathbed in hospice, family and Louisiana and home is important to us. That's what we found in common. And when we found that in common, you realized you knew so little about your Black neighbors
Mm,
as you were doing the book with me, and you
mhm,
reached out
mhm,
and learned about the lynchings that happened just in your vicinity of Baton Rouge and stuff. I said, "Do you remember that?"
mhm.
And I said, "Yeah, Tucker's not interested in that,
Interesting.
and that's why I don't want to meet with him." So
Interesting.
it's yeah, that's a I don't know how I got there, but I got
Yeah,
there.
okay. And then, oh shoot. Okay, so they're saying we need to wrap. Let me ask you two more questions, and then we can wrap, and we
And
can
I'll
kind
be
of.
brief.
No, no, no. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted because I'll write all around this. You mentioned, and I will tell you, as you well know, Katrina. I was a local news reporter in West Palm when Hurricane Katrina happened, and to me, there were only two times in my lifetime where I maybe three where I felt like the entire world was rooting for us, and I also felt like the country in which we live in, it felt more like family and unity, which has been the theme. Katrina was one of those times. Heartbreaking, 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 heartbreaking. And I remember thinking, will the city ever recover? And I know that you were very instrumental in helping rebuild that city. What would be your advice for those in Altadena? Because not that they're sister cities, but there is this community, elderly Black people who've been in Altadena for so long. So many
Hmm.
people I know who've lost their homes, people who have paid off their homes some 20 years ago, no insurance, um, 80 years old, and you don't have anything. You find yourself at 80 years old and you don't have a home, a senior citizen, is 65 and above, whatever you want to say. They don't have anywhere to go. And they are relying on the kindness of strangers and perhaps the morality of this country to build them back up. And we've talked about this, what were the steps in rebuilding in Katrina?
First of all, Altadena is a mirror of the community I grew up in, and I helped to rebuild, and that's Pontchartrain Park, created out of the civil rights movement when folks coming back from World War II could not even purchase a home anywhere they wanted to because of covenants, and couldn't even go into the park because in the park you could only go if you were a Black person 1 day a week. To fight that, we created Pontchartrain Park. Altadena was like that as well. People thought put them up against the
Uh-huh,
hills.
uh-huh.
That going into the hills was a place that people didn't want to go to. So that this thriving Black community comes from there. We, as a Joshua generation, owed it to that Moses generation that went through that to
Mm,
build that community.
mm-hmm.
We owe it to them to rebuild it, and this is how we do it: exercise that right of self determination. There was great legislation in the 90s called community development legislation, where banks are given and cities are given large sums of money from the federal government. And if you put it out on the street in a certain way, it is graded high. They call them CRA points. And when you get large points, more money is given to you the following year, and the budget is increased. You get more. So it is in the best interest of the city and banks themselves to get high CRA points so that they can get more money the next year. That's when banking in the 90s went from just retail, checking and savings like we know of,
Yeah.
to business accounts. And it added community banking. That's where you saw the proliferation of credit unions. And that's every bank has a community banking division where they get to put their percentage on top in a loan, but they're getting all the money without free from the federal government. It is in their best interest, and they are incentivized. The best way to access that money, Altadena, is to create a community development corp, which is a nonprofit that becomes a place where those banks can put that money into for development, get those high grades so they can get more money the next year. They are incentivized to find a community that organizes their right of self-determination and create a model to get money funding for the redevelopment of a beautiful part of Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and is deserving. And that is how we did it. We did that in Pontchartrain Park. We built 40 homes. The Community Development Corporation found people we wanted to have access to, people who went through credit counseling. They got soft second loans they were giving. It also gives the community and corporations and other entities that want to contribute and know that it's going somewhere, and they get the benefit of contributing to a nonprofit.
But
And literally,
how do you stop vultures? How do you stop people from trying?
now, the other side of that is you have the other side of that is I think of the Dickens novel. That's what I was trying to think of. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah.
The Tale of Two Cities. It is always like that around a disaster. You will see the best in people, and then you will also see the worst. And what you want to do is, this is when you lean on the very people you put in the office. And you want to make sure that a database is put together of contractors. So you go to, we had uh, 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 the Urban League put together a database of contractors, one, who they were going to have to be accountable,
Yeah.
and two, giving opportunities, especially now, to Black and diverse
Yep.
companies who never get the shot, right? So you can find someone who's going to be held accountable by the National Urban League, and also give opportunities to small Black businesses that are now being eliminated from consideration in federal projects, because the federal government now is cutting all the DEI projects. So we have to create that ourselves. And the local chapter of the Negro of the
NAACP?
National Urban League did that for us.
Okay.
That's a great way to protect yourself from vultures. The other thing is, go to your insurance, the state insurance commissioner, and really
That's good.
demand that they make all of the insurance companies accountable, who are doing in California what they did in Louisiana, which is not honor claims. And by not honoring their claims, they're going to send you to all the American Red Cross organizations and all the philanthropic groups that are giving money. And that's great, to try to be the smokescreen for the fact that they pulled out insurance companies from you and redlined Altadena, saying that they're not going to. And that's when you hold them accountable with the commissioner and sue. Go after them and demand that your commissioner puts together a class action suit against them. And I also believe that the electric company, we have proof of it, started that fire.
Yes.
And so I've lived for decades in Pasadena, so I love that community.
Oh.
You see my hair is jacked up right now because my barber
is in Pasadena?
On Lake Avenue.
On Lincoln?
Yes. No, on Lake.
On Lake. Okay. I didn't know that.
Just in time.
Okay. Shout out to Just in Time on Lake Avenue. Wendell Pierce, thank you so much for being here. I could talk to you for 2 hours, but I know you have many jobs and many things to do.
Yes.
I appreciate the encouragement and the inspiration.
Thank you.
And obviously the instruction.
Thank you. You have been, your voice is so important to be out there.
Oh, thank you.
And it was an honor for me to be on the show. I hope I made sense.
You did. Perfect.
I hope I didn't ramble.
Nope, we vibed.
I hope you had a good time in New Orleans.
I did.
And I look forward to seeing you in New York and in Los Angeles. I am tri-coastal, people. I'm in New Orleans, right here. This is my office.
Yep.
This is my business partner's office. I always take the big office when I come in. So I am Gulf Coast, East Coast and West Coast.
Okay, you all
So
over.
I am tri-coastal. I love the communities that I live in. I love being an actor because that's what it's all about, that humanity. And you do that with your vision of community and your knowledge of sports and connecting it to sports.
I love it.
The humanity you bring to your work is demonstrated in your media and journalistic acumen,
Yeah.
and was demonstrated in your talent as an athlete as
Oh,
well.
I
And
appreciate
so
you.
I
I
really
receive
appreciate
all
you and
those
appreciate that.
flowers. I receive all those
There you
flowers.
are.
Awkward to do,
There, feel
hard
it.
to do, but I receive it. Thank you so much for taking the time. Good. Have a good trip. I know you're leaving. Have a good trip.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take it easy.